My peeps, welcome to, I think it's going to be episode 5 of the Here and Now show with Bud and Fluff. We were talking offline right before this, and we can't believe we've even got this far. We're super excited to talk about the new album and everything else that we've both been to a few recent Eggy shows in the past month or so. So we've got a lot to talk about this show. We're glad that you're all here with us. And with that said, Fluff, what's on your mind, buddy?
Yeah, thanks, Bud. So happy to be back. And like you said, we both got to get out there on the road a little bit in the last couple of weeks, saw some shows, and definitely going to talk about that. And as you mentioned, I think people may have noticed that Eggy did release an album. Not sure if anyone was even aware it was coming out, because there wasn't a lot to talk about with it. We didn't hear any songs that were going to be on it. And, okay. Obviously joking. Can't wait to talk about the album. I could talk about the album all day. And also there was the announcement of the Thanksgiving dates, the Capitol Theater, which is extremely exciting. So there's so much going on, like you said. So we should just get into it. What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we could probably spend the entire show just on one song off the new album if we wanted to.
I know we could pull that off, but we should start with the tour recap. That way we can make sure that we give it some good attention before we fall into the trap of talking about the album for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to give my quick spiel on kind of what's happened recently. So, wife and I were hanging out at home. She was getting ready for some surgery, so we were taking care of a lot of last-minute details and stuff. And someone very close to the band reached out to us and said, "Hey, we'd love to see you guys down in New Jersey. It's not too far. Come on down." So we said, you know what? We're not going to have another chance for a while. So we packed up the truck. And we went, and especially we like the tail end of a tour. If we don't get the beginning, we really like to see especially the last show of a tour. So this was the perfect little 4-show run. And we went down to Asbury Park. The first time we were ever there was when Eggy was there in 2023. I think it was early 23. I think you were at that show, Fluff, weren't you? Was that 23 April? I think it was. Yeah. So we found a hotel down there we absolutely loved. So that was another incentive to go down. And we went down a day early. We got down there a day early. We got to the Stone Pony, which we had never been to before. So that was really cool. The last time we were down there, it was the Wonder Bar. So, one of the things that was keeping us away from going on this run was the fact that it wasn't full shows, right? It was just that one set. But the longer you go without seeing those guys, the more a minute is what you want,
Right.
You don't need 2.5 hours. That's a luxury. But to get a nice solid hour is good, a little bit more, maybe see the guys, chit chat for a minute. So Stone Pony. Then we did Pier 6 in Baltimore, which was, now it's very interesting. I'm used to seeing these guys. When I say used to, 70 plus shows, pretty much all indoors. There was only a couple that were outside. So sound compressed, right? Like the sound is compressed into a room and the walls are right, within, sight. So to see them at these bigger venues, this Pier 6 is like a mini Great Woods like we have up here in Boston, a nice outdoor amphitheater. It was within walking distance of the hotel. I actually emailed the staff of the Pier 6 Pavilion afterwards because it was way overstaffed and everybody was super friendly. And it was like a ballpark. They had people walking around with ice chests on their shoulders, say, "Hey, cold ones." It was great. They had like a little food court. But back to the sound, them going through these bigger speakers with I don't know how many watts they have in a small place, but I bet you there's at a zero to what they were putting through these giant speakers and stuff. And, it was just fantastic to hear them in that, that space, right? So that was, Pier 6 and then Salvage Station, 2 shows in Salvage Station. Really cool, campground atmosphere. You walk through this gate area and it's just like I don't know, it's like a scene from a movie almost. There's the stage and there's like just this big open area, trees and little landscaped islands and random kiosks with like wine tastings and just kind of all kinds of cool shit. And again, that big sound, and Humphreys had a couple of giant buses and like at least one 18-wheeler. So there was a lot of equipment on stage, a whole stage,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. So it was just very different from our typical Eggy experience, and wild, fantastic, very cool. Also I'm used to a very Eggy focused crowd. All of my Eggy shows have been, not all, but mostly have been Eggy, right? You're there for Eggy and the opening band is somebody else or whatever. So to go and have the main draw be a band that I've heard of but don't know was kind of interesting, and we stayed around for a few of the first sets of Humphreys, but took the advantage of being an older person and saying, you know what, it's getting a little late. We can get out. We had a good time with Eggy. We saw some Humphreys. Now we're going to scoot and go see some of the city before we go to bed or whatever, So without taking up the whole show, that was my 4-show run. And got a shout out to the fact that you got to see some houseplant. But we can talk about that on another time because this is the Eggy show. But anyways, so what do you think? What'd you get to go do?
Well, yeah, you did the last 4 of this. I think it was a 7-show run. Started in St. Louis, hit Chicago, Indianapolis. That's where I dropped in on them for an hour. It was a good show. I did get to see another band play before them even. So there was 3 bands on the bill, as I believe there was every night of that tour. But we got Houseplant that I don't think anybody else got on the entire tour, which was a very special treat and a new favorite of mine, thanks to you, of course. So, we're gonna definitely talk about that more. But you hit on something with the venue, the type of venue. Pretty much to this point, unless you were seeing Festival Eggy, you would have been outdoors for that 9 times out of 10, I think. Or if you were lucky enough to be at Red Rocks a couple months ago, you've seen Eggy take to that stage and hear the sound blast out across, the whole entire place. But yeah, this was the first time for me too. It was Everwise Amphitheater in Indianapolis. Like you said, kind of a miniature version of your typical summer shed, with the lawn and the seating and the pit and the speakers, video screens and all that kind of stuff. And that was really special. I was also in the pit, which we're not normally. You won't usually find me there ever. But we were there for Houseplant and Eggy. Did not stay in the pit for Humphreys though. So, we stayed for a little bit of Humphreys. We actually met some people that, we had a lot of good time chatting with. And so we kind of we're doing a little bit of that, and a little bit of listening, and then, brought it back to the hotel and on to the next one. Right. So,
yeah. And that you just touched on something that I left out, which was the other big draw for us, because it was only going to be an hour of Eggy. What was really the deciding factor for us to make this, 2,000-mile round trip and, some hotels that weren't that cheap, was the people.
Yeah.
Being able to see people that had traveled up north to see Eggy that we met up here or met in the central area like New York or something, Ben Brinkley, I'm looking at you. Nathan Thomas, finally good to see you down there. And then Dave and his wife, I think it was Dave. Anyways, you know who I'm talking about. Salvage Station.
Dave's not here, man. I don't know.
That's right. Oh my God, bro. You just flashed me back. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm always good for a Dave's not here. I am always good for a Dave's not here, because that's one of the best bits ever. Yeah,
we are brothers from another mother, for sure.
Yeah, probably.
Wow, just mic drop on that. I'm done. You just finished me off. The rest of the show is yours. I'm just going to sit here in some post Dave's not here bliss. I haven't heard that in 10 years from anybody that even knows what time it is.
Oh, buddy. Well, we're
You
the
know,
old guard. That's part of the problem. You're hanging out with too many of the young people now, and they
I
don't
feel like I
know.
just got off a Ferris wheel. Holy shit!
But yeah,
Thank
I mean,
you for
you said, the people. I mean, I think what got you on that tour was, as you said, someone very, very close to the band saying, "Bud, get your ass in the car and come see some shows."
pretty
And we
much.
miss you, basically. So you did right, and you did good. And like we know, you're not going to be out for a little while, so you had to get in what you could.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a short tour, so anyone who caught a piece of that was pretty lucky because each night they threw down for a solid hour, except for was Baltimore. Oh no, Asbury got shortened, and then they made up for it the next night in Baltimore
Hmm.
for sure
Hmm.
because Baltimore
Yep,
was a fierce set. So and there
totally
definitely a
was.
couple songs even. A couple songs out of that tour even found themselves on the GM chart, so it wasn't, even though it was only an hour a night, as they always do, they made it worth our while. You know,
Consummate professionals, right? That's another reason why it's safe to like roll the dice on going to see them because they've never, ever, ever, not once been semi-pro.
yeah,
They have worked through problems on stage and they've just always given what it's perceived by me to be as thoughtful song selections. There were times on some of those runs where I felt like they were reading the room so well on the second set that the songs were like crafted for the literal vibe in the room, like to a T. So
I'm going to bring up one that you're very familiar with that fits exactly what you're talking about. Covington.
mm,
Remember Covington?
I do.
For those who weren't there, or those who were there might remember, but for those who weren't there, Jake was having a amp issue, a monitor issue, or something like that in the first set, and he actually had to leave the stage to go work on it.
Yeah.
And the band had to kind of just pick it up and make it work without him for a little while. They did. He came back. We all just kind of went with it. You're like, you got to make the best of it. You can't, I mean, it happens. And then in that second set, probably
Hmm.
one of the top 5 second sets of the year or sets of the year to this point, probably from that show. And it's, they just, even if they have something that they have to overcome, it's only going to make whatever comes after it probably that much better.
Right.
There's no semi-pro, like you said, no half-ass,
Yeah.
no,
Right.
no,
I'm open to learning from anybody of any age, right? But I'm always fascinated when I learn from people that are younger than me. And they have taught me lessons that I can't even really verbalize. But that Covington incident, like, there wasn't even a drop of nervous sweat from them that you could sense. It was just
or me either. I was like, they're going to figure it out.
right. Yeah, of course. We all knew that, but still, like, but in retrospect, afterwards, I was like, if I've poured my life into becoming a performer, and now today I spent 90 minutes trying to get a printer to work. Okay. I was literally ready to like pick up a $450 printer and just drop it from waist level. Done.
In
Right.
there.
And so I can't imagine with a crowd of people waiting on me to print that piece of paper, how I might just crumble,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but of course, I mean, they've trained those muscles. They're used to being out in front of people and stuff, but still it's there's a lesson. It's crazy that there's lessons to be learned from, watching a band work through some technical issues, but there are.
Isn't it Asheville where Alex's mic fell off the stand?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
a pro. He was a boss. He
Right.
didn't miss it, and
Right.
again, just you never know what's going to happen, but
Yeah.
that's why you go to all the shows.
Yeah. It was cool to see, there be like, so they've had, CJ has been like this miracle man behind the scenes, right? But he's
Shout
at the
out to
soundboard.
CJ.
Right?
Sorry.
He's at the soundboard 150 feet away now.
Yeah. What's he
At
going to
these
do?
places, and so he can't run down there and throw duct tape on a mic stand, So it's cool to see. I think it was actually an Humphreys band member that came
Yeah, it
out,
was. It was.
and
It was their Jake.
yeah, okay, Yeah. Right. So all those Jakes, they're all so
But you're
cool.
right. Another good point about these new bigger venues. You know, CJ's now back in the middle of the board. He's not right there on the side of the stage in these smaller venues. It's a
Right.
great point. And one of
He's
the
so
things that
chill.
it's so
Yeah.
exciting, even though it's just because it's just they're getting bigger and you know it, and it's all happening.
Right.
So,
Right. But if you know CJ, like I can't claim to know him, but we're very strongly acquainted. Right. And so it's just fun to watch him just be calm and chill as the scene just gets bigger and bigger, and he just like stays like just to the general public who knows behind the scenes
it's
what
a
kind
good
of
point.
freak out's
CJ has a
happening.
very zen, very level way about him, which I love.
Yeah,
So, because
I
I
think
don't
he
know
learned
if
from
people do
Dan
that.
on that, right? Yeah. So
All right, one
yeah.
down. I feel like I should do like who was the talk show host? It was Letterman, right? You would do that when you finish the topic.
Do it, keep that
So,
in there.
how about that Capitol Theater, baby? Have you ever been there? Were you there for the
No.
Jerry Show? No, just kidding.
Never been there, didn't even know where it was. Like Port Chester meant nothing to me in geographical proximity. I just knew it was in New York. Thought it might have
Chester
been in
meant
New
nothing to
Jersey.
you? Oh, we can't be brothers. That means you've never seen the movie PCU?
No.
Oh my God. Okay. All right.
Back to
Okay.
square one. Shit.
Shit. This is like the pineapple on the pizza, though. We're just gonna. It's a write-off. We're just gonna.
This house is a prison on planet Suck.
What the fuck is that?
Step Brothers.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
I
when I said that in the text last week, you didn't know that was from?
didn't know the reference. No.
Oh shit. Well, we both have homework now, don't we? Let me write that down.
Always.
Hold on. PCU.
Yeah, PCU.
I got it.
All right, buddy. So Capitol Theater. There is going to be the two shows, the Thanksgiving shows, the ones that used to be, I guess, occupied by Twiddle for the last 6-7 years.
Okay.
That's quite a run to have at a venue like that. So these are some big shoes to step into for Eggy.
Yeah.
Eggs in a Pile is the best thing I saw it called. Eggs in a Pile. But there was a lot of excitement. I mean, that was, considering the album followed it, that was a really big week between that announcement and the album.
It's been quite the glut of Eggy riches these past few days and weeks, huh? With the Nug shows showing up and the album dropping and the dates being announced.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, when I was driving over here to Studio 2A, I thought that we could spend a whole half hour just on one song, possibly maybe even one verse, and that's just amazing. I don't know if I pay attention to the other bands' lyrics. I don't really listen to much other bands, but I've never really paid attention to the lyrics as closely as I have with Eggy. When the first couple of songs I read, I was like, whoa. And now they, had such value that every one of them now is worth a read.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing with Eggy and the new album is literally no exception, is the way that they just slam you with these life lessons or these truths that are
Truths.
Maybe even something you knew and forgot or just need to be reminded of every so often. And it's something that you and I have been talking about. And I know you and I have talked offline a little bit with Pat. And, hopefully we're going to be getting him on here pretty soon. Bud's in the dark on a lot of this, so I gotta make sure that we do fill him in. But the thing is that gets me with their lyrics is that there's not every song is going to fall under this kind of umbrella, but they're not writing anything insanely complex necessarily, but right smack in the middle of it is these huge, insane truths. And you're just listening along, and then you hear a line, you're like, wow, oh, wow, like, wow.
One of the times that I first saw Patrick face to face and talked to him, as anybody that's listening that doesn't know, Patrick Amarante is the one of the people that helps really write the songs with Jake and Donnie and those guys. But I said to him, I haven't read lyrics like Led Zeppelin. Those bands from the 60s and 70s had all these songs that had multifaceted meanings depending on the mood you were in, your life situation, the weather, whatever it might be. And maybe I haven't been paying attention, but I feel like that's been missing from like the core of good lyrics out there for decades. And now it's back, maybe because they had those influences. They're like, all these guys were like born at the perfect time to musically absorb, everything from Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley to, sorry, I just got to shut the flashlight off on my phone here. Elvis Presley to, I don't know why it came back on. For anybody that doesn't know, I sit in an office in this studio that I got some new lights in the ceiling and they have motion detectors, and I haven't figured out how to make them not.
Despite the fact that you continuously move while you're in there,
I know, right?
Act up on their own.
Yeah, I need a thermostat in here too because I shut the AC off earlier today and it's starting to get hot. So if you guys see me getting shiny.
I think we're going to need a word with the Studio 2A tech crew because they need to step up their game over there.
Yeah, that guy's used to being in HR anyways, so might not have much effect on him.
So, well, I know that I couldn't buy my tickets fast enough for the Thanksgiving shows. That's something that I am just super, super excited about. And
right.
I think, they said something in their post, which kind of goes back a little bit to what we were talking about. Like, Eggy never gives you anything less than 100+%, but they wrote, "You're not going to want to miss these shows."
I know.
When Eggy, when they put those words out there, you better heed them. Is my all I can say.
Right. And so I feel like there's going to be a production like on the Reelin' in the Years level of, thematic kind of, maybe, I don't know, it's still early, but maybe not. Maybe it's just straight up, foot on the gas rock, but we'll see.
So
what's next?
Yeah, well, we got to talk about the album. And, I know to your point, I actually have an idea I'm going to just kind of spring on you. But because we could talk about, end up falling into a hole and talking about one song or one verse of a song for 20 minutes. And we do try to keep the show somewhat reasonable in length. So, and the other piece of that is we both truly do hope and expect that we will one day sit down on the show with Pat and we'll dive deep into as many lyrics as we can. And so, I want to kind of hold on to some stuff too that I don't want to put out too early. But, what I was kind of thinking is I wanted to kind of give my overall thoughts on the album, just a quick kind of run through some general off the top stuff, and then a little game that I wanted to kind of play with you if you're willing to be open, and then hear your thoughts as well on the full album. The thing to me that I don't want to fail to say 100 times over is the production on this album is unlike I ever would have dreamt or thought or expected. James Petrali is a genius, is a wizard. I'm pretty sure he has changed Eggy's entire trajectory, whether any of them even realize it or not. I just think that was one of the most perfect, the word that I want just escaped me, just the perfect conglomeration of people and time and place. And what they created is really, really special. And I haven't felt this way about a studio album by any band in 3 decades, probably since the 90s, the last time really amazing albums were being made. Like, we might have talked about a little bit. I think that the lyrics, again, which is something that we just said, Eggy is already known to kind of have a leg up on many other bands out there. The lyrics in just about all the songs on this one were exceptional. I think there's a theme, some prevalent themes throughout the whole album that those lyrics all tie into that everyone can identify with. And just when you take the talent that they have as musicians, the voice that Alex brought into singing all the songs, what James did in just bringing the little things that you barely even notice but are there
Mm-hmm.
behind the song within it that just bring it all together and make it a perfect cacophony of sound and all fitting together in a perfect way. Um, and again, just the vocals, the lyrics, the music, the production, top level. I'm like 10 out of 10 on each. So, however many categories you could think of, I think they just crushed it in every single one of them. What do you think?
I That's a good summary. This is their second album, right?
Second album.
So yeah, I read something from a musician, I forget who it is, pretty famous, who said you have 15 years to write your first album. So you have your whole musical life to get famous,
Building
right?
up to it, yeah.
Right. And then when you write your second album, you have 15 weeks.
Mm-hmm,
Right?
mm-hmm.
Because the first one comes out and now you're popular and now the pressure is on, right? And so I'm not saying that that's what happened here at all. I think, excuse me, but I do think that this is probably like their first album, in a way. The one that's going to really get, like, I can't think of, okay, so Blues Traveler, for instance, right? Their second album was, way more popular than their first. And then after their second one got popular, the first one, everybody went and got, So I feel like they've put a lifetime of production into this one. I agree with you on the ear picks up things that it's hard to put on the table in words, but there is a crispness and a thoroughness to the production of it. There's empty space, but there's no empty space, if that makes, if that jives, right? So I was surprised there were some surprises on there. The female lyrics, the female vocalist,
Mm-hmm,
did not expect that.
mm-hmm.
Totally took me by surprise. And that was an awesome feeling to be like, whoa, I didn't see this coming. Just talk about, all I thought of was that meme, keep your secrets, right? With the little girl, standing in front of the burning house or whatever. But anyways, it was just cool to have that little surprise in there. And me and you kind of teased out a little bit in the conversation on how that might happen live. There's going to be a lot of conditions in place for some of these songs, especially that one, to make their way onto a live stage.
Well, the first thing I said when I heard her voice come in and doing the duet with Alex, I looked at my wife. I said, "Well, now I guess we see why this one hasn't been played live yet." Because it was just that one in Shallow Rivers that we were waiting to hear anything of.
Right.
And there was the few that hadn't been played much, like Waiting Game, and now we see why. Because Acoustic was the debut you got, right,
Yep.
with three
Yep.
of them.
Yep.
So yeah, there are some little surprises on there. Nothing that's crazy. Surprises in a good way. Again, the female vocalist that not only was kind of, again, we weren't expecting that, but I'm gonna say that's got to be one of the most hauntingly beautiful songs that you could want to hear. It's incredible. So
It's definitely well done. You and I were both lucky enough to see some of these core songs that are on the album stretched out into their full, like old enough to walk and be out live in the world on a 15-minute, soliloquy instead of just this 4-minute little ditty, So as I listened to the album, I tried to hear these other songs, like imagine them being, jammed out like that. And to your point, I think a few of them are going to kind of be very special. They're not going to come out a whole lot. In Waiting Game, as I shared that video with you, was just like my lucky stars that I was able to see that in Nashville that second night in the basement and had the presence of mind to get my phone and just record it. I didn't know what was happening. But that night, earlier, as we were waiting in line, CJ came by and he said, "Tonight's the night." Now, looking back, and I've heard that from him, I think twice in in my Eggy life. So that was a big deal. And I'd have to look back and see if any of the other new songs on the album were ever played before that day. That could have been the premiere of the first song on the new album, you know.
Well,
But
they started last September at the Cutting Room. That's when they started playing the
okay,
new stuff. But
right. So
not
then
Waiting
that
Game. They didn't play
right.
Waiting Game that night.
No, but so that Waiting Game was May 7th, 2023. So
Right.
that probably was the initial ice breaking of that body of music that night, right? Sounds like it would be. I've been lucky enough to have that recording on my phone and be able to go back to it. So when it came out on the album, I was singing along with it pretty much right away. And man, oh man, that might be my favorite.
Well, I
You
got to
know,
say, thinking back to when they did a lot of this, it's getting harder and harder as we start to pile on more and more shows. I might even say it all blends together like watercolor days, even. Anyway, he did it. Yes, he did.
I imagine
Anyway,
a day when we can have a conversation literally in song titles
Eggy,
and lyrics
yeah,
only.
Eggy.
Yeah. Mhm. I have to become more of a student and then find someone that can do the same, but it's possible. A meaningful conversation.
I tell you, man. Well, and the lyrics. That's I keep coming back to that with this whole album, and a couple of the songs, especially like "Waiting Game," is one of them. Just amazing, just amazing.
Gravity, you know.
I,
Seriously.
what I want to know what you think about this because I have been listening over and over and over and trying to make as much sense as I can out of as many lyrics as I can. And what are they trying to tell us here? What's the meaning? What's the story behind this album? And there's been times I thought they were telling us a story or a series of stories even. A lot of the songs feel like they're either kind of talking about love and relationships, something that people have been through. Or if it's not that, then the song might actually be talking a little bit more just about life and persevering through it. And in some cases, those things all come together,
Mhm.
in one experience. The love. There's so much reference to love or lost love or fighting for love or something. I just can't get over the fact that I think there's some underlying, not that it's like a secret message, but a deeper purpose for why they wanted this group of songs to come together on this album right now.
I
Um,
think I think it's a group of young, noble hearts.
Noble Hearts. Ooh,
Mhm.
that's good.
Yeah. They were raised right
Say
to
that
have,
again.
to have the right perspective on life and to be able to. There's so many people out there that aren't even like smart enough to think, if you know what I mean. Right? They're just like going through life as they were never given the tools to be curious when they were younger,
Right.
right? They weren't, educated for lack of a better term. And, these guys, these kids all have the tools upstairs to be able to, iterate their emotions into words or iterate their thoughts, dreams, passions, desires, pain into understandable lyrics. And I put a post up on Facebook a while ago and I said, the lyrics are why, the music is how, right? The lyrics are why I listen to Eggy. The music is how it's delivered, right?
Mhm.
Pizza is a beautiful thing, but the crust is just a delivery vehicle for the cheese and the sauce, right? The music is just the delivery vehicle. And I shouldn't use the word just because that seems like it might be diminishing it in a way, but the music is the delivery vehicle for that beautiful topping,
Hmm.
right? And so that's why, instrumental songs kind of stand alone. They don't have that topping on them. They're their own interesting introspection into the crust. And that's what I got, you
Hmm.
know.
Okay. Oh,
So
that's good. That's good stuff. I think you're It's really good insight, actually. I appreciate you coming from that perspective on it. All right, so I had this game that I wanted to try, and I wanted to go through each song on the album really quick and see if you could just like give me like 3 words or less, even of just like what that song feels to you or means to you. And if you could give like 1, 2, 3 words, I'll try to throw 1, 2, 3 right back at you and see if we could do it. Because like instead of like talking about it for 4 hours, like let's get to the
Okay.
core of it. So like,
All right.
so Laurel,
Party time.
your dance. Uh, that's good. A moment's
good.
notice.
Heart and feelings.
Yeah. Tethered to a weather vane. Oh, that's
Yeah.
4. Okay. All right. Smile.
Exuberant joy.
Acid music.
Ah.
Shallow rivers.
Bloomlight 2024.
Very, very clever. Come up slow.
Epic, classic, timeless.
Earworm, major. How about must come down?
Drawing a blank.
I'm gonna go with boy band song. I can't stop thinking that. In a good way though. And Way of the Stone.
I thought it was an old Eggy song.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I still haven't formed much of I don't have many thoughts on that one yet.
I feel like it's an ancient saga.
Yeah.
So Long.
Another one that I'd have to hear it to know, like, I don't know it enough to say without hearing it. You know what I mean? What's a tagline? Give me a lyric in it.
Well, it's Hauntingly Gorgeous. It's the one with Veronica.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, surprising and special.
There you go. And Waiting Game.
I mean, close to my heart.
A little on the nose is what I'll say.
Yeah,
and then finally, Gentle Clown.
Again, epic, classic, multifaceted meanings. Right, that one's going to take some unpacking.
I'm going to say life. I'm going to say life lessons. That's what I'm saying there. And I have to thank the band and whoever wrote Gentle Clown. This is my extra piece of information here. And I don't know if she's going to be happy about this or not, but my wife is one of the people who, despite being a rational grown adult, has had a discomfort with clowns through her adult life. And I know that it's not rational, but I also know that she's not alone. So anyway, when this song was they put it out as a single, I got nervous. I thought, this is it. She's done with Eggy now. And so the good news is that the song is so incredible. She loves it so much that now there is a positive connotation in her life with the word clown. And it's completely changed her life in that sense, which all ties back into how many times have I said Eggy changes lives? And it does it every day in every way imaginable.
Bears
it did
repeating.
not get me to eat pineapple on my pizza, but it does. They do incredible things. And I think this album, I really, really hope that I said this to them, that as successful as they ever could have hoped it'll be, I want more. I do. I want it to just be I mean, they deserve it.
I'm going to message Jake right now and tell him to write a song about pineapple on pizza to change your life.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
All right. So there's that. I'll do it after the show.
The good news is I don't think he'll do it. So, message him all you want. I mean, maybe he'll write it, but I would be shocked if it. I know?
On Gentle Clown, right? I feel like even though I have not looked at any of these songs to see who wrote them, but in a vacuum, I would say Alex wrote that song because he sings it with like he lived it,
Hmm.
you know?
Interesting.
And so, like, if
Interesting.
someone asked me, hey, without knowing, like, who do you think wrote that song? Even though I'm aware that he doesn't do a lot of writing, that one I would put it on him all day.
Hmm.
Just
Okay.
my wrong gut feeling. You know?
You never know.
No, you
Um,
don't.
well,
With
I
a
do. I love how
ghostwriter.
they're so collaborative anyway. So,
Right.
even if someone's not credited as a songwriter, I don't know
Yeah.
that that means they weren't a part of that.
Yeah.
These guys
Yeah.
are talk about a unit, right? Talk about
Yep.
a close knit, tight group. Um,
Yep. Now,
and go ahead.
here's one of the things I want to know. Like, me and you've probably watched 100 different rock documentaries and stuff, right? And there's always these stories about these songs that were written, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page wrote a song in 5 minutes, ended up being a, classic forever. Everybody's listened to it a million times on the back of a napkin in a bar or driving in a bus, on the subway, whatever the random story is. Nowadays, and I know me and you have both talked to Patrick about this a little bit, that things are written like electronically. I'll email him a passage, he'll text me a passage, vice versa. Things are written on a phone now, or maybe on a computer. And I'm interested to know if any or at all of this album was written like in the van on the road. When were these songs all combed over and refined electronically via devices, or were they in a room together with a pen? Hey, wait a minute, no, scratch that out, do this. Someone's got a guitar, someone's got a drum. Like what was the process? I'd be fascinated to know that. And so in year 10, when we're full video documentarians for Eggy, and they're massive, we'll be able to get them all aside and ask that question. So, producer, file that away in our vault of questions for 10 years from now, and we'll make it happen.
I would believe deep down that it's going to be because of the world we live in now, a combination of those things when they're writing. That
Right.
they're putting it together. Anytime they have something, they can throw it into a pot that they can all jump
Google
maybe on the
Doc.
phone or something,
Right.
yeah, and see. But that
Yeah.
they do spend so much time together face to face that they can then sit down and just look at that and go, okay,
Right.
I have a piece of paper now.
Right.
How else would you say that? I mean, the questions that I have on how they came up with some of the stuff on that album, they even make reference to this kind of idea in A Moment's Notice when he sings "When We'd Write Each Other with Paper and a Pen." They actually say that in that song.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, we're maybe not far from something here. And again, I want to know where is all this coming
Right.
from? Where is it going?
Yeah.
What do they want us to know? Because here's the last piece of it. They're starting to ask a lot of questions, bud. They're asking us a lot of questions. Have you noticed that? And we started to all kind of play on it with Atomic Age. Why did he run? Who was he running from? Okay, but it's a chorus, right? But when you jump into this album, there are a lot of questions on this album, and I don't know if they want us to answer the questions, or are they giving us the answers to the questions somewhere in there? Is life just a waiting game? Is there love for two fish in shallow rivers? I mean, there's a lot going on now, and I need answers.
I know. And so to that point about, wondering how it was written and stuff, I don't need a single extra molecule. I've got everything I need from this album, right? But my romantic mind goes to that, how was this, what was the magic that made this happen?
Right.
So I'll always be curious about it. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There was purpose and intent to every one of these songs. I can imagine that, was there 7 or 8 on there?
10.
What's the shelf look like that the ones that didn't get on there, right? There's probably 15 that didn't fit this concept that I don't know if it's a concept or this, this idea, whatever you want to call it, that we feel is there. It's not tangible yet, but we're only a few days into. I mean, I had the album on repeat for 10 hours the first day. I've probably got another 6 hours worth of listening since then. and I'm still in my infancy, you know.
Yeah.
So looking back at how many hours of Eggy I've listened to since I found them in June of 2022, I got a ways to go before I can really say. And you know, you get to know this. One of the things I wanted to touch on real quick, and I know we got to wrap, but you know, Eggy is fascinating to me because I've learned the songs, and then to see them live is the surprise, right? Like you can feel like you're standing on solid ground because you know the song, but you're seeing it painted in a whole new frame every time you see it live. And I don't see that when I try to listen to other bands. You know, I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent, but this album is going to give me thousands of hours of listening over my lifetime. You know, when Blues Traveler came out with their second album, it went into my CD player in my car. I think it was 1996. And I am not lying to you when I say it did not come out of there for like 4 years. It was it. I got in the car, I pressed play, and I listened to that album. Every single note of that album is ingrained in me, right? And I feel like this is going to be that.
Yeah.
You know? So
it's a real good album. And again, the credit is all of them, is Alex for his singing, is Jake and Donnie and Pat for their words. As I have looked, and I believe that's the main composers of the lyrics between the three of them. You're right.
And
Alex
Mike
doesn't write a lot, and Mike doesn't write a lot, so they're not.
right.
But we hear them. We know they're there. There's no question.
Mike is the guy making your head go like this.
Yes,
So
exactly.
he doesn't have to write anything. He doesn't have to write anything. Just keep me going like this, baby.
And one of the best bassists, because you don't hear most bassists, and I always hear Mike. So yes, but when you're talking about lyrics, you don't see his name on the lyric sheets a lot.
Right.
But no, those guys, and then James, what James did, whether, you know, and I'm sure, again, combination of both. Those guys having an idea and James going, hey, take that idea and add this, you know, or those guys getting stuck and James going, check this out. And I'm sure even so often them showing James a thing or two, you know.
Those little Instagram posts they put up that show like how he said play it as fast as you can, right? Like it was a slow song and they made him go 5x faster.
Gentle
and
Clown.
Now it's that was the one, right? And then there was a couple other those little things. Like I'd love to know like how many views they get and stuff, but that's like esoteric little information that really helps, goes to what we were talking about before about how was it created and the work that goes into that. And what is it like when you're in that bubble and it's you and your bandmates and that producer, and you have to decide, this is the one, this is the take right here, put it in the can, sell it, you know, like that is going to be like jumping off a cliff at the same time as knowing that you're going to land on your feet because you've done the work to, you know, but still, like I would love to experience that. It's got to be like almost like a vertigo, you know.
Well, and to your point, you know, they did share some clips, and it sounds like they might share some more with us, you know, and that's great. They give us so much insight and looks into their world that you don't always see from other bands.
Yeah, you know, so my mom always wrote poetry, right? So I've always been around like this poetic kind of you know, like overlay, right? And so as you've seen in the past on Green Eggs, I've put up when I get something into my head, I'm not embarrassed to share it, right? And so I put stuff out there several times, but it was flowing much more in my head when we were on tour a lot, you know, because there was so much of my life was revolving around getting to all those shows over the past year and a half. It's still there. This album's going to bring it back, I think. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I kind of like, it comes in waves, you know, but I feel it building up again. So watch out on Green Eggs if I start putting out some warm and fuzzy weird shit.
It's
You know,
happening because you've been listening to an album full of poetry. Because I'm
it
glad to
is
hear you
poetry.
know what poems are. I'm being a little sarcastic because earlier when you were talking about music is the delivery for the lyrics for you, without it, what are they? It's a poem without it.
Right,
Without music, lyrics are a poem, and
right.
with
The
it, it
word, right,
becomes a song.
right. The words are why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, and so it is. They're absolute masters of the craft, and
Right. And I said in that post, when I said the music is why, the lyrics are why, the music is how. Eggy keeps me in the now, right? In the here and now. Duh. Why didn't I think of that? But uh, in the now is like so important. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons that they teach is that you have to live in the now, right? The past is gone. You can work for the future, but you have to be present in the moment at all times, right? And I think they're aware of it when they get out of the moment and they work to get back, and I do the same thing, and I do it because of them. I mean, I was probably doing it before, but the light's been shined on it. So it's been captured in a spirit of music and words.
well,
So
deep.
yeah,
Whoa.
well, that's where
Well,
we're at, man.
as they
You
say in
know,
Gentle Clown, the past is safely tucked away, right?
this is
So,
not a shallow river.